All right, today we're going to go over the drywall router or RotoZip, learning to use it to cut out your electrical boxes on your projects. You cut them out by hand, but I also want you to experience this. Couple different bits that go in these. You have a bigger bit, and I think I kind of went over this earlier in the year when we went over this. The bigger bit is used, say you throw a piece of drywall up and this is a door opening, to cut that door opening out. Big long cuts, okay? Maybe around windows, doors. The little bit that's in this one is an 1/8 inch bit, and that's used to cut out around your electrical boxes. You don't want to use this one for cutting on your edge because that's a lot of stress on that little bit and it'll end up breaking really easy. They're usually run about $1 a piece for these, so you don't want to keep snapping them off every time you make a cut. So you got to save these for your electrical boxes. I got a couple different boxes mounted on here. I got a plastic box and a metal box. They do cut a little bit different. So when you guys frame your project, you'll have to frame it to a certain size. You'll have to set it up so your boxes are sticking out the right distance. With this metal box, it isn't a nail-on box like this. It's made to fasten with screws through the back. So you'll have to mount you a board in there to get it sticking out the right distance for 1/2 inch drywall. I'm going to do mine just a little bit different than yours, but by your directions, you have to cut your sheet of drywall a certain size, and then you're going to put it on there. Regardless of the size of your drywall, you're going to tack this on here. The nice thing about this, it speeds the process up of cutting out your boxes, but they do take a little bit of getting used to learn how to use them. But basically, you tack your drywall up, and then you cut your boxes out afterwards. But if you're thinking about a whole wall, you need to know where these boxes are before you put a big piece of drywall up there. Say it's a full 4-foot wide piece of drywall, but it's 12-foot long and there's 4 boxes in there. If you just slap that up there and tack it up there, you're going to have no idea where those boxes are. The best thing to do is take some measurements to where your box is, but you don't really care where these sides are. You want to know where roughly the center is. Does it have to be exactly the center? No, but you want to be inside that box someplace towards center. So if I measured over here, it would be 2.5. So I'm going to measure over here 2.5, and I'm going to take my measurements up here. 7.5 is close enough, so 7.5. So roughly right in there at that X is my center of my box. Now remember the same process. If you start pulling some of your measurements from here, pull all your measurements from here. So say 11 3/4. So 11 3/4, and then up 8 inches. 8 inches. So roughly the center of your box is going to be someplace in there, and that's all you need is little crosshairs. So now you're going to tack your piece on there. But remember, see how it's not fitting down flat, right? It's going to be the same way on a wall standing up or a ceiling. It's not going to fit right flat. So if you drive your nails in all the way, what do you think is going to happen? The drywall is going to break, right? So you do want to use nails. You don't want to use screws for this process. And that's another reason why most people nail the perimeter, because you can tack it a lot better with nails than screws, because screws you don't have as much flexibility or feel for how you're putting it in. You can suck that screw in really fast, and then it would be down too tight. So basically you just line your drywall up and you get it tacked on there around, but you don't drive your nails in all the way yet. So we'll get that tacked on there in a few different spots, lining it up. I'm not driving them in all the way, I'm just snugging them down. Once you have that tacked on there, now you're going to start out with your RotoZip. Frank, can I get you to plug that in for me? This is going to get a pretty loud, high-pitched sound. But basically what you want to do is just plunge that through in the drywall at that point where you said was the center point. Once you get in there, it doesn't matter which direction you go to find the edge, but you're going to cut over till you feel the edge of the box. Okay, once you feel the edge of the box, you're on the inside, but you want to cut to the outside of it. So you got to jump up and over and find the outside then. Then you're going to go in a counterclockwise cutting motion, and that'll keep it towards the box. Now the side that has the stud here, you got to watch how far you plunge that in, or because you're running down through there and it'll catch the edge of that stud and it'll walk away from your box sometimes. These do adjust for depth. You loosen this up, you can adjust this in and out so only a certain amount of bits sticking out. That helps with that some. A lot of times I take mine right off. I don't really want you guys doing that in here, but I have mine right off and I just kind of feel of it. And you can actually feel the edge of the box. So plastic box, now what do you think the difference between that metal and that plastic box would be for cutting? You got to be a little more gentle, yes, because you could cut right through that plastic box and not even know it was there, yes. Metal box, you got to watch how hard you're pushing because you're going to end up breaking your bit, right? But you can feel them a lot better, yes. So I'm going to start with the plastic one. I'm going to start this up, let it come to full speed, and I'm just going to plunge it in there, cut over. Right there's the edge of my box. So I jump over. I think I got partially on the inside there. Nope, did pretty good. So once that's cut, you don't want to fasten that down tight yet because you still have this one. So then you're going to move to this, same process. Over, jump over. Okay. Once you have it, make sure before you tack it down that it is fitting everywhere, because if you had a little spot where it wasn't going in, if you just push it, it's going to do the same thing as the saw. It's going to bust it out. But once you see it's fitting good, then you can finish tacking it down. Okay. Now, nailing process for this is going to be the same as what you did before. It should be every 6 inches, right? So you're going to finish nailing it. Now, for these edge cuts, there you go again. You're going to cut by directions, your drywall to a certain size. But to cut these edges, you're going to use the big bit. It's kind of the same process. You can see this here where the edge is, and this will follow right up that. So you just, nope, got to switch plugs for me, Frank, please. And normally when I'm on a job, I have 2 of these out. I have one with this size bit, one with this size bit. I wouldn't want to keep switching back and forth. Another thing with these, you got to really watch how you set these down and where you're setting them. I mean, generally they're on the floor near where you're working, but I mean, all it takes is for you to step on that a little bit as you're moving stuff around, and then you've snapped your bit. So you got to watch how you're setting them around so we're not breaking them. So you let that come to full speed. That'll follow right up that. Makes things a lot faster. Now, doesn't that look a lot easier in doing all them particular measurements, exact measurements, and so it speeds the process up. But it does take some getting used to and the feel of it. So once you got to this point, you would finish nailing it how it's supposed to be, and then you'll be done. So everybody has this project. I will issue you your metal boxes and that once you have your frame, or once you start your frame, because you'll need to know that so you can get this in there. So this project here, what we're going to do, we're going to kind of work it because we're to a point where we're going to start painting, and I need to go through that demo. Because you're going to paint a coat of primer on, then you're done for the day. You can't put another coat of paint over that same day. So then you can jump to these other smaller projects and work on them. So we're going to kind of use this for a filler. Anybody have any questions with that?